Hey guys, welcome to Roy Marshall Jiu-Jitsu. I'm here at my school, Gracie Schwarzwald in the Black Forest, and going to talk about another topic today. This actually comes from a few different things recently. One is a topic I saw on a jiu-jitsu forum, which was about tests for your promotions, tests for your belts, and it was pretty, split. Because the guy was worried he was having a test and just concerns about it. But there were a lot of comments that were, which I've heard many times, which is that you shouldn't have to test for your belt. That's ridiculous. They should just judge you by how you roll, or the coach should know whether or not you're ready for your belt and just give you your belt. And I'm going to talk about why I think that's a wrong way to think about it and why tests are important. Again, I always try to preface this with, this is only how I run my school, only how I act as a teacher. If another coach or another school views it a different way, that's completely their prerogative. I don't say they have to do it the way I do it. But I will give the reasons why I think having a test, a very specific, rigorous test, is important for promotions. So I have tests for every belt. So the first is this. To me, the test promotions are based on your knowledge. There are other factors, right? But what I'm really testing is your knowledge of jiu-jitsu. This is also partly inspired by a question I had from some of my students the other nights, where they were asking, and a visiting student, what is it, I look for in promoting somebody? And I said the primary thing is technical knowledge, because a lot of the other things come and go. Hoyce once told me that our primary goal as teachers is to build more teachers, not necessarily fighters or competitors. That's great, don't get me wrong, to have those guys. But every student that comes through the door and goes through ranks should be a potential instructor. He or she might not be an instructor, but we want to give them the tools so that they could be an instructor. And what that means is a deep understanding of how the concepts of jiu-jitsu and how the techniques work at a fine detail. Because without good instructors, the art dies, or the art becomes very watered down, very non-technical. So you get a lot of guys now, they maybe compete well, and they open schools, but they never really learn the art of teaching. Okay, so this is why, for instance, if you see Hoist guys, they have a white bar when they first get promoted, and then later they get the professor's bar, or instructor's bar. And that's the way the original academy did it, Gracie Academy, because the idea was you actually had to prove that you knew how to instruct. You had to go through a course, an instructor's course, where they made sure that you were a good ethical representation of the school, as well as technically you understood not just the techniques, but how to convey the information. So it's where people sometimes they say, was Elio the greatest fighter? Was he a great fighter? Da-da-da, he lost to this person, he won against this person. It's kind of irrelevant to what made Elio great. What made Elio great was his methodology of teaching. He was arguably one of the best teachers of all time. And if you've never trained with either he or the people who train directly with him, you won't see that, you won't learn that. That's actually the true art of jiu-jitsu. When you train with one of those guys who learned from Elio or Carlos how to convey the information, rather than just kind of, hey man, come on over, let me show you this choke. So it was a broad methodology and a broad technique of how to convey that information. So, but again, it's not even, I'm not expecting every student to come through to be able to teach. or to be open a school one day or become an instructor under me. But the idea is, what I'm testing for is that they know the information that I've taught. So, one of the most common statements you'll see is, well, just, let them roll, and then you can see, if they roll well, they deserve a blue belt. If they can hang with blue belts, they deserve a blue belt. And I disagree with that, right? To an extent. Like, yes, I mean, my tests, I don't promote anybody who can't hang with that next level. In fact, I'm a slow promoter. Anybody who's trained with me or my students knows that. I promote very slowly. But if I brought in an elite football player, or I brought in a D1 wrestler, they're going to smash every blue belt in the room. The football player, nobody's going to hold him down from side control probably. Do I say, well, he can get out of side control, and he got out of that purple belt's mount, he got out of that purple belt's side control, so let's give him a blue belt. Or you take the D1 wrestler, and he's just crushing everybody in the room. But the point is, they're not doing jiu-jitsu when they do that. And that's what I'm testing for. That's what the belt represents, is the jiu-jitsu technique. They're kind of getting the job done any way they can. And again, if you want to just promote based off of somehow they were able to tap this person, that's okay. But again, that kind of, to me, waters down the art, right? Because they're not winning with jiu-jitsu. I'd rather them lose trying jiu-jitsu, showing that they're still trying it, than win through sheer athleticism or, pulling in something from, another art that they have years of experience in. So what I tell people is, I have a test for every belt. You will not get a promotion unless you pass the test. But just because you pass the test doesn't mean you get a promotion. I do take into how well you roll. I do take into how much you contribute in class. I do take into a myriad of other factors. But the test is a way for me to judge your technical knowledge. Now people will say, well, you're an instructor. You should know how much knowledge he is. That's not always true, right? I have a curriculum because I have a set group of moves that I think you should know as a blue belt, and you should know well, not just sort of, I've seen that before, I kind of know how to do it, I can kind of hit it when I'm rolling if I just throw a lot of force at it. A story, a friend of mine was about to promote somebody one time to blue belt. The guy was a great roller, and he told the guy, hey, see the new guy over there, could you go over there and teach him scissor sweep, and then when you get to mount, cross collar choke. And the guy who's just about to get promoted goes, I don't know the scissor sweep. What do you mean you don't know it? He'd just never been in class when it had been taught. So my friend realized, oh, well, I can't promote him yet. He doesn't know this core, what I consider part of the core curriculum. I need to make sure he knows the whole curriculum so that he's complete. So for me, I have a blue belt curriculum. You must know these techniques. I consider them essential for you to call yourself a blue belt. Not, you're really athletic, I'm gonna go roll, and maybe I can hang with those blue belts. That's definitely a part of it again, but these are the core techniques that, to me, you must know to represent the belt. Because if you don't, the belt starts to suffer. Okay, so, and for me, the blue belt curriculum is unique in that it's not about jiu-jitsu fighting jiu-jitsu. Okay, so if you go, well, he just rolled really well, he should get a blue belt. Well, for me, the blue belt curriculum is about defending real-world attacks. It's about standing self-defense. People are choking you, trying to knock you out on the ground. They're trying to knock you out. They're getting you in a headlock and getting you out. So if you have a guy and he rolls really well where he sits on his butt and he slaps hands and he rolls upside down and he catches footlocks and things like that, but he's training regularly to defend punches, regularly to get takedowns, regularly to get out of headlocks, regularly to defend being slammed on the ground, to get out of bear hugs, then to me, he's not a blue belt, no matter how well he rolls, because he's not rolling with the threats that he's actually going to have to defend in a real fight, which to me is what you need for your blue belt. Past that, purple belt and brown belt, I added more defending against jiu-jitsu. So in that sense, yeah, this is why I've seen blue belts come to me and they got a blue belt, and when it comes time to, okay, let's work on some striking, they have no idea how to strike. Let's work on defending this punch, they have no idea what to do. And to me, you know, again, people can differ. I just don't think that person should be wearing a blue belt. So a test would show, you know, me and say, okay, well, okay, you don't know how to get out of this headlock. Let's go ahead and work on that. Okay, make sure you know it, then we'll look at you for your blue belt. Or any of these things, you don't know how to do this pass. You can maybe get away with it when you're rolling because the person's tired or you're just throwing a ton of energy at it. But show me that you do it, you know the technique correctly, step by step. And that's what the test does, right? It's very stressful for people because, yeah, they know the techniques, sort of sometimes, but do you know it correctly? Do you know each step? Are you forgetting really important parts of the steps? Because if you are, you know, I don't think you then know the move. So that's, you know, I think too often we reward athleticism. This is, for instance, why when I was coming up, a lot of times we would judge you a lot by rolling, right? We'd put you in there, you know, when it was time to test, you'd get smashed. But it would kind of work this way. We would smash you and smash you and smash you till you were so tired you couldn't even see. And then that's when the test happens. That's when guys are rolling with you where you're so exhausted you can't do anything. Are you still believing in your jiu-jitsu? Are you still trying to get your frames in place? Are you still trying to do the correct movements? Because you don't have the athleticism to fake it anymore. And if you're not believing in jiu-jitsu at that point, it's gone out the window, then I'm not going to reward you. Just because when you were at your peak, you know, energy mode, you were able to smash a bunch of guys. That doesn't mean anything. It's when you're exhausted, are you able to still do jiu-jitsu? More importantly, are you still trying to do jiu-jitsu? Okay, so it's a jiu-jitsu belt. And so for me, that's part of the reason that, you know, I do the test is I want students who are as technical as possible, believe in jiu-jitsu, are trying to use jiu-jitsu, not just, like I said, get a tap any way they can. You know, I've rolled recently with people who train sometimes at other places, and they can be a little bit trouble, you know, sometimes for lower belts because they're flexible or they're trying crazy things. But I've noticed when I roll with them, I shut them down. Their arms are completely out of place. They're not trying to shrimp. And since I've shut out their flexibility and their athleticism, it's very obvious that the technique isn't there, that they didn't learn the technique or they abandoned the technique. And the technique is the only thing that's going to save you when the flexibility is gone, when the strength is gone. So for me, the test is where I get to see that you're really zeroed in on the technique. The other thing too is it's mental. It's not just physical. The test is, for me, you know, yeah, if I go over here and I go, oh, show me a scissor sweep, you go, okay, it's kind of like this. But if I make you sit there and show me one after the other, after the other, after the other, mentally it fries you, right? That's part of the test. It's not just physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion. Can you still keep focused on knowing the things? I've had guys doing the test, and man, they're great at triangles. And it comes time in the test, they've gone through all this stuff and say, show me the triangle. Locking their legs backward. They're so confused because they're mentally fried. So jiu-jitsu is not just a physical art. It's a mental art. Can you keep that focus through this whole test? Where, you know, I break it down into a variety of sections: striking, takedowns, clinch work, all the different groundworks, because I want them to know the complete curriculum and prove to me that they know the complete curriculum. So again, you know, the people at my school, I put them up against pretty much anybody. I promote very slowly. I see guys now getting to purple belt 3.5 years, and I have guys that take 7 years to get to purple belt. But they know their stuff, right, in and out. Versus they just kind of rolled well. And the problem is that if you get promoted because you roll well, right? And I'm not saying that if you roll well, you're not technical. I'm not saying that at all, right? But there are guys who just, they're athletic, and, you get guys come in, they're really athletic, they beat people so they get promoted. Then they beat more people, they get promoted. And then pretty soon they're black belts. And then they start teaching. Well, they never learn the techniques very well. And now they're teaching. They don't know the techniques really well, so they're teaching, and they're promoting based off of athleticism. So the next generation, it's getting watered down even more. And so again, I've met blue belts, and I say, do a upa, and they're just trying to throw me off of them, or trying to knee elbow escape from side control, and it's just all athleticism and very bad technique. And I feel like I kind of have to almost start them from ground zero, really breaking down how to do the things correctly. And more than that, you get a big guy and he's able to, smash everybody, get on top, smash everybody, but then you watch when he can't and he gets stuck underneath somebody, you see sometimes the lack of technique there, right? Because he was rewarded for, being on top, getting people, smashing them. So I judge him when, you have a big guy or bigger guy holding him down, right? What is he? Is he now still just trying to sling people off of him like he was able to with the smaller guys? And so just let guys roll, and, or I roll with people and I know what they're good at. Yeah, obviously if I know what my students are good at, but it's a difference between, they kind of hit a butterfly sweep pretty well, versus show me exactly how your grip should be, show me the concept of breaking posture, break it all down for me, because then I can see maybe they're forgetting some things. And it's not just a test, it's, okay, well, now I know what to reinforce. Hey, you're doing all of this really great, you're forgetting this, and you're forgetting that. Because at the end of the day, my students are representations of me. The belt they wear is a representation of me. So I've always been happy with, people saying, that my students are very technical, because that's what I focus on. I'm not a big athletic guy. So, I've only made my jiu-jitsu work through really focusing on trying to be as technical as possible, which is how I think, it should be, because jiu-jitsu, despite the memes of gorillas and sharks and things, at the end of the day was designed for, people who didn't have the physical superiority to just go out and dominate, to be able to survive, and to be able to possibly even become victorious. And that happens only through the focus on technique. And again, as somebody who's gotten older in jiu-jitsu and beat up, your flexibility will go, your cardio will go, your strength will go. And if you're rewarded with technique, without technique, you're rewarded on those three things. Well, now you're a brown belt, but the things that got you there aren't there anymore. So I think the test is crucial. Also, it's a rite of passage, right? Not to say it's not great when you go, you win a tournament, or you get second place in a tournament, your coach gives you a belt up on the podium. That's fine, and if you enjoy that, that's really great. But I'm not going to reward you necessarily just because you won a tournament. Doesn't mean you were the best guy there. I've won tournaments where I know I wasn't better than the guys. I just, maybe the way it worked out, I got my points, or I got lucky that day. And I've lost to guys I know, 100 times out of 100. Or if we rolled again, I'd beat them. It was just the luck of the draw that day. It is a way to check. Don't get me wrong. But Hoist has a black belt test, for instance, and it's a serious test. I mean, I don't think really ever more than 50% of the people that are invited pass, and it's an intense test. And the people who go through it and pass it, it is a very important experience in our lives. it means something. There's kind of almost a brotherhood of people or sisterhood and brotherhood of people who've gone through it. And I think it's important for every belt to have that. I went through my blue belt test and it was amazing and it was great. It was this moment and people were there. And I think that's part of the journey too. Now again, if you're a coach, you let the guys roll, you walk up and you hit them with a belt and give them the belt, that's fine. I actually got my purple belt that way from Rodrigo Gracie. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, the test is a way for me to really validate that and really make sure that I've conveyed the information and I've made sure that they know the complete curriculum of what I think is essential to be a blue belt. Not they know half the curriculum and the other half doesn't matter because they can just use sheer physical force to make things happen that they need to happen. Personally, I test, and I have a specific test for every belt, and I think I encourage coaches and schools to do it. They don't have to, but hopefully you guys will understand my reasons for why I do it and give a little bit of thought to that. And thanks again.